Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, translated with commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Adi Leela, Chapter 7, Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. Text 100. Dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what you have said is all true. Only one who is favored by fortune attains love of Godhead. Purport. One who is actually very fortunate can begin Krishna consciousness, as stated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Rupa Goswami. Brahmanda Brahmate Kona Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Bhai Bhakti Lata Beach. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 19, 151. There are millions of living entities who have become conditioned by the laws of material nature, and they are wandering throughout the planetary systems of this universe in different bodily forms. Among them, one who is fortunate meets a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna and comes to understand the meaning of devotional service. By discharging devotional service under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master or acharya, he develops love of Godhead. One whose love of Godhead, Krishna Prem, is awakened, and who thus becomes a devotee of the inconceivable Supreme Personality of Godhead, is to be considered extremely fortunate. The Mayavadi sannyasis admitted this fact to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is not easy for one to become a Krishna-conscious person, but by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it can be possible, as will be proven in the course of this narration. Text 101. Dear Sir, there is no objection to your being a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Everyone is satisfied with this. But why do you avoid discussion on the Vedanta Sutra? What is the fault in it? Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments in this connection. Quote, Mayavadi sannyasis accept that the commentary by Sri Shankaracharya, known as Sariraka Bhasya, gives the real meaning of Vedanta Sutra. In other words, Mayavadi sannyasis accept the meanings expressed in the explanations of Vedanta Sutra by Shankaracharya, which are based on monism. Thus, they explain Vedanta Sutra, the Upanishads, and all such Vedic literatures in their own impersonal way. End quote. The great Mayavadi sannyasi Sadananda Yogindra has written a book known as Vedanta Sara, in which he writes, there's a Sanskrit verse here. According to Sadananda Yogindra, the Vedanta and Upanishads, as presented by Sri Shankaracharya in his Sariraka Bhasya commentary, are the only sources of Vedic evidence. Actually, however, Vedanta refers to the essence of Vedic knowledge, and it is not a fact that there is nothing more than Shankaracharya's Sariraka Bhasya. There are other Vedanta commentaries written by Vaishnavacharyas, none of whom follow Sri Shankaracharya or accept the imaginative commentary of his school. Their commentaries are based on the philosophy of duality. Monist philosophers like Shankaracharya and his followers want to establish that God and the living entity are one. And instead of worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they present themselves as God. They want to be worshipped as God by others. Such persons do not accept the philosophies of the Vaishnavacharyas, which are known as Suddhadvaita, purified monism, Suddhadvaita, purified dualism, Vishtistadvaita, specific monism, Dvaitadvaita, monism and duality, and Achinta Bheda Bheda, inconceivable oneness and difference. Mayavadis do not discuss these philosophies, for they are firmly convinced of their own philosophy of Kevaladvaita, exclusive monism. Accepting this system of philosophy as the pure understanding of Vedanta Sutra, they believe that Krishna has a body made of material elements, and that the activities of loving service to Krishna are sentimentality. They are known as Mayavadis because, according to their opinion, Krishna has a body which is made of Maya. And the loving service of the Lord, executed by devotees, is also Maya. They consider such devotional service to be an aspect of fruitive activities, karmakanda. According to their view, bhakti consists of mental speculation or sometimes meditation. This is the difference between the Mayavadi and the Vaishnava philosophies. Text 102. After hearing the Mayavadi sannyasis speak in that way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled slightly and said, "My dear sirs, if you don't mind, I can say something to you regarding Vedanta philosophy." Purport. The Mayavadi sannyasis, appreciating Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, inquired from him why he did not discuss Vedanta philosophy. Actually, however, the entire system of Vaishnava activities is based on Vedanta philosophy. Vaishnavas do not neglect Vedanta, but they do not care to understand Vedanta on the basis of the Sariraka commentary. Therefore, to clarify the situation, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with the permission of the Mayavadi sannyasis, wanted to speak regarding Vedanta philosophy. The Vaishnavas are by far the greatest philosophers in the world, and the greatest among them was Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhu, whose philosophy was again presented less than 400 years later by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj. Therefore, one must know very well that Vaishnava philosophers are not sentimentalists or cheap devotees like the Sahajiyas. All the Vaishnavacharyas are vastly learned scholars who understood Vedanta philosophy fully, for unless one knows Vedanta philosophy, he cannot be an acharya. To be accepted as an acharya among Indian transcendentalists who follow the Vedic principles, one must become a vastly learned scholar in Vedanta philosophy, either by studying it or hearing it. Bhakti develops in pursuance of Vedanta philosophy. This is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.12. There's a Sanskrit verse here. The words bhaktya, shruta, gritaya in this verse are very important, for they indicate that bhakti must be based upon the philosophy of the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra. Srila Rupa Goswami said, Shruti Shmriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Upatayaiva Kalpate. Translation. Devotional service performed without reference to the Vedas, Puranas, Pancharatras, etc., must be considered sentimentalism, and it causes nothing but disturbance to society. End translation. There are different grades of Vaishnavas: Kanistha Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, Uttama Adhikari. But to be a Madhyama Adhikari preacher, one must be a learned scholar in Vedanta Sutra and other Vedic literature, because when Bhakti Yoga develops on the basis of Vedanta philosophy, it is factual and steady. In this connection, we may quote the translation and purport of the verse mentioned above. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:2-12. Translation. The Absolute Truth is realized by the seriously inquisitive student or sage who is well equipped with knowledge and who has become detached by rendering devotional service and hearing the Vedanta Shruti. Purport. The Absolute Truth is realized in full by the process of devotional service to the Lord Vasudeva, or the Personality of Godhead, who is the full-fledged Absolute Truth. Brahman is his transcendental bodily effulgence, and Paramatma is his partial representation. As such, Brahman and Paramatma realization of the Absolute Truth is but a partial realization. There are 4 different types of living beings: the karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, and the devotees. The karmis are materialistic, whereas the other 3 are transcendental. The first-class transcendentalists are the devotees who have realized the Supreme Person. The second-class transcendentalists are those who have partially realized the plenary portion of the Absolute Person. And the third-class transcendentalists are those who have barely realized the spiritual focus of the Absolute Person. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures, the Supreme Person is realized by devotional service, which is backed by full knowledge and detachment from the material association. We have already discussed the point that devotional service is followed by knowledge and detachment from material association. As Brahman and Paramatma realization are imperfect realizations of the Absolute Truth, so the means of realizing Brahman and Paramatma, that is, the paths of jnana and yoga, are also imperfect means of realizing the Absolute Truth. Devotional service, which is based on the foreground of full knowledge combined with detachment from material association, fixed up on the oral reception of the Vedanta Shruti, is the only perfect method of realizing the Absolute Truth by the seriously inquisitive student. Devotional service is not, therefore, meant for the less intelligent class of transcendentalists. There are 3 classes of devotees, namely first, second, and third. The third-class devotees, or the neophytes, who have no knowledge, nor are detached from the material association, but who are simply attracted to the preliminary processes of worshiping the deity in the temple, are called material devotees. Material devotees are more attached to material benefit than transcendental profit. Therefore, one has to make definite progress from the position of material devotional service to the second-class devotional position. In the second-class position, the devotee can see 4 principles in the devotional line, namely, the Personality of Godhead, his devotees, the ignorant in the envious. One has to raise himself at least to the stage of a second-class devotee, and thus become eligible to know the absolute truth. A third-class devotee, therefore, has to receive the instructions of devotional service from the authoritative sources of Bhagavatam. The number one Bhagavatam is the established personality of devotee, and the other Bhagavatam is the message of Godhead. The third-class devotee has, therefore, to go to the personality of devotee in order to learn the instructions of devotional service. Such a personality of devotee is not a professional man who earns his livelihood by the business of Bhagavatam. Such a devotee must be a representative of Shukadev Goswami, like Sutta Goswami, and must preach the cult of devotional service for the all-around benefit of all people. A neophyte devotee has very little taste for hearing from the authorities. Such a devotee makes a show of hearing from the professional man to satisfy his senses. This sort of hearing and chanting has spoiled the whole thing, so one should be very careful about the faulty process. The holy messages of Godhead, as inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Srimad Bhagavatam, are undoubtedly transcendental subjects. But even though they are so, such transcendental matters are not to be received from the professional man who spoils them like the serpent spoils the milk simply by the touch of his tongue. A sincere devotee must, therefore, be prepared to hear the Vedic literature, like the Upanishads, Vedanta, and other literatures left by the previous authorities or Goswamis for the benefit of his progress. Without hearing such literatures, one cannot make actual progress, and without hearing and following the instructions, the show of devotional service becomes worthless and therefore a sort of disturbance in the path of devotional service. Unless, therefore, devotional service is established on the principles of Shruti, Smriti, Purana, and Pancharatra authorities, the make-show of devotional service should at once be rejected. An unauthorized devotee should never be recognized as a pure devotee. By assimilation of such messages from the Vedic literatures, one can see the all-pervading, localized aspect of the personality of Godhead within his own self constantly. This is called samadhi.